Hi, I'm Angel, and I will be presenting my team's Huitzilopochtli presentation. Uh, the entire presentation, not just my part. Since I won't be able to go to the in-class presentation, my team members will present my part. And that way we all get a chance to present. Starting with the introduction. So Huitzilopochtli was one of the most important gods. He was considered the supreme god for the Mexica people. He is the reason why the Mexica people left their homes in caves and went out to a new land to create a new home. In fact, he came to them the entire journey as a hummingbird and whispered directions and told them they would build their home on where they found an eagle eating a serpent with its talon standing on top of a cactus. And that's exactly what happened. When you get to the origin and history of the Aztec religion, you see that priests were very much the ones in charge of like leading the ceremonies of doing the rituals and offering sacrifices according to the Encyclopedia of the Britannica. And also, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, you see that there was a reason for this. The purpose would be to receive favor and blessings and protection and blessings and definitely battlefield victories, and of course, favor in military affairs. Um, when we get to the roots of this myth of him and his myths, there's a couple varying stories. The first one would be that he was tasked with his brother to create the fire, the first humans, the earth and the sun. And then the most popular story would be that his mother got pregnant by a feather. His siblings didn't like that. They killed her up out he was born from that, and he sought revenge, killed his siblings, and beheaded his sister, threw her head onto the sky until it became the moon, chased and killed a few of his brothers until they were scattered on the sky and became stars. And it is from this myth that it is believed that the sun is always chasing the moon and the stars. And the moment that he loses this battle, then the sun will never come back again, that all life on earth would perish and the earth and humanity would be doomed. And the so you obviously wouldn't want this to happen. And the price for sustenance, the sustenance that the god needed was, human blood. As for his symbols, he's closely associated with eagles, which are like his spirit animals, and the hummingbird. In fact, it was believed that men who died in the battlefield and women who died in childbirth would both be reincarnated as a reward as a hummingbird to serve by his side. And as Diego Duran writes regarding the hummingbird, that it appears to be dead, but at the advent of spring, the little bird is reborn, which is just beautiful. And moving on to his attributes, you see, he was originally sculpted in wood, which means that really there aren't any existing or surviving representations of him. But if you see him, you see that he's mostly painted in blue. He has hummingbird feathers on his headdress. He has his shield, and most striking, you see a serpent spear that shoots out fire. So that's pretty cool. Moving on to his worship and ritual sites at the Temple Mayor. It was very much, it was the temple, his temple was decorated with carvings of the dismemberment of his sister, as well as human skulls that would actually suggest that the Mexica would reenact it, like his origin story, like a play. Let me just walk you through what the ritual sacrifice would look like this 15th month of the year in the Mexica calendar. You would gather war captives and slaves, and you would remove their beating hearts, offer it to the sun, to the sky, and then you would dismember them, decapitate them, push their torso down the steps, and then you would eat their flesh. They would also give them offer flowers and quail eggs. They're not animals. And they would have the women then dance the traditional serpent dance. So all in all, a really good time. Unless you're like a slave. The societal impact that it had just on the Aztec culture was like very significant. He is the reason why the Aztlan called themselves Mexica. He gave them their new name. He gave them their new home. He's the reason why they had a new home, right? Humanity. He protected them. He guided them throughout the entire journey. And in modern culture, you see after the Spanish conquest, the Aztecs were defeated. They outlawed a lot of religious practices that were not based on the Christian faith. And for some reason, they just really frowned on the whole human sacrifice. Party poopers. Um, but some of the festivities were still survived and kind of pushed into what we now call and have as Christmas, modern day Christmas. So it's still alive in little, at least little aspects of it. But of course, the most like the lasting legacy that it would have, the most important or significant um artwork or form of patriotism in his honor would be the Mexican flag. See, in the middle, in the center, you see the eagle on top of the cactus holding the snake in its talon and beak. Um, and this is just paying homage to the original foundation myth of what we now call the country of Mexico, right? The green stripe would represent hope, the white represents unity, and the red represents the blood of national heroes. So, yeah. In conclusion, the H has a very big significance. His fall would signify the fall of the entire Aztec Empire. So he was a very important. As a writer put it, he is the reason why life exists. Without his light, without his heat, without, his life, his constant fight, there would just be chaos. And without his blessings, no war would ever be won. So clearly he played a very big factor in life, in community, in society, and in global politics. So yeah, it was very, very impactful. As for the morale, personally, I think that his story is one of resilience and strength against, constant adversaries from birth. And it kind of shows and depicts the courage and the constant sacrifices that he had to make in order to fight the darkness every single day and still come back the next day to do it all over again. So it's just a powerful tale. I'm gonna signal this as the end of the presentation, but I'm gonna move on to the discussion questions now. Just for time's sake, I'm gonna read the questions. I'm gonna ask you guys to pause it, and then I'll give my answers to the questions. So, question number one: warriors and women that died during childbirth receive the same reward in the afterlife. How does this compare or contrast with gender roles today? Number two, what does the cactus, eagle, and serpent represent? Number three, why are both the eagle and hummingbird important in Huitzilopochtli's tale? And number four, why was human blood so important? So please pause the video and ask yourself some of these questions and see if you can come up with your own response. As for me, for the first question, I would say that it's very, very, very significant that men dying for their country is put in the same category as women dying giving birth. Nowadays, you do not see that same level of respect towards women and definitely not towards mothers, especially stay-at-home moms. I don't know what these were, but stay-at-home moms, they are just not given the same level of respect or honor that any other, like any man with a job or even a soldier on the battlefield is. But it's beautiful that in the story they were both rewarded in the same way, becoming hummingbirds. Because if you think about it, it's very obvious that without women giving birth, there would be no life. There would be no more humans. There would be no more humanity. Look at Korea. And without men fighting for protecting their home, protecting their country, their whatever, um it would also signify the end of their families. So you need both to live. As for the cactus, eagle, and serpent, the eagle obviously represents strength and courage, right? The serpent represents the adversaries that you're fighting against, and the cactus, I would say the cactus represents home or a foundation, something that you can fight for, something that you can hold on to while you're fighting. So yeah, it's it's a powerful visual. It really is. I can see why, it's the Mexican flag. As for the eagle and hummingbird, they're both very important because the eagle represents courage and strength. We know that. But the hummingbird is constantly present throughout his story. If you've been paying attention, you see that the hummingbird represents wisdom It represents guidance, protection, loyalty, wisdom more than anything. And it shows that you can't really have one without the other. In order to get what you want, in order to live a good life, in order to work for what you want, to know what you want, to know where you're going in life, you need to have both the wisdom and guidance of the hummingbird and the strength and courage of the eagle. And I feel like a lot of even like immigrants or just regular, average citizens can resonate with that thought. As for human blood, Huitzilopochtli needed human blood in order to keep fighting, right? And if you really think about it, it's really simple. Like everyone, you need blood constantly, like to be pumping throughout your body to be alive and to be able to fight every day, to be able to do your tasks, with your obligations, your responsibilities, what you're supposed to do. Without it, you wouldn't be able to like live. Um, if you were to just die, then your adversaries would win. That's when you would stop fighting. So yeah, it's a very visual and impactful um representation of that ideal. I hope that if I wasn't able to answer any of your questions, my teammates will be able to. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation and giving me the chance to present. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.